Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to create a restaurant layout design from scratch. So let me just show you quickly what we're aiming to achieve in today's design. So this is going to be our landing page. All the images that I've used, I've found them on upsells.com. These are royalty-free images. And as you can see, it's the images that really make your designs look really, really awesome. So this is going to be our main section of our website. What I've decided to do here is to add a call to action because we want to generate leads. So later on in part 2, we're going to be connecting this to a funnel so that we can email these leads later on for special offers. Okay, so moving on here, I've also created this special menu area here. So these are the main sort of like foods that I've added in. And in the background here, we also have a slight hint of some food in the background. Here we have an image of the chef and a brief message here. And then finally, over here, we have our testimonials from our happy customers. So this is the layout that I'll be showing you how to design step by step in today's tutorial. Now, before we begin, I would like to say, if you buy Divi using my affiliate link, I will give you access to my Divi Blueprint course, which teaches you how to use Divi and how to design professional looking websites using Divi. Secondly, if you're new to web design, I also have a free WordPress mastery course. The link to that is in the description below. It's 100% free. This will be your starting point to learn how to design websites using WordPress. All right, let's dive in. Let me show you how to create this landing page. All right, so let's start by creating a brand new page for our landing page. So I'm going to come over here, click on add new. So I'm just going to call this landing page, but of course you can name this page whatever you want. Next, I'm going to come over here and click on use Divi Builder, and then I'm going to build this from scratch. Right, so what we're going to do right away is to add our background image here. So I'm going to click on this gear icon on our section settings, click on background, and then I'm going to add my image right here. So the image I'm going to use is this one here of the interior of the restaurant. Now, it's important that when you design your websites, you want to make sure that the design of your restaurant website also includes the interior. So when people land on the page, they can see roughly what it looks like inside. They sort of like get a feel of what it looks like before they actually come. All right. So now that I've added this, I'm just going to save this for now. And then I'm going to come and add my columns. So I'm going to add a single column here. Now on this column, what we're going to do is we're just going to add something. In fact, we're going to add a call to action because when they land on the page, we want something that really entices them to want to sign up for something so that we start collecting all our leads. So I'm going to go for my text module here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, some description text to go with our call to action. And then I'm going to just pretty much save this for now. We're going to come back in and make some further changes. Next, we're going to need our call to action button. So I'm going to search for my button module here and select it. And again, I'm just going to leave my button as it is. In fact, I might as well just align it to the left, but we are going to come in and make some changes to it. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And then we're also going to need a title. So again, this is going to be a text module. So I'm going to select it. So I'm just going to say, become a free member. Okay, so I've got that now. I'm going to assign this to a heading 1. So I want this nice and big. Okay, so that's looking great. I'm going to drag this now to the top. Okay, so now that we have all our contents in here, this is looking great. Now I am going to go in and make some changes to this. So I'm going to click here on row settings. And then we're going to go into our column because this is where we're going to make all our customizations. So first of all, I'm going to come over here to design. Spacing. So I think the spacing around here is pretty much okay, but you know what? We're going to come in and make some changes later. So let's go back to our row settings, design. So here I need to work on the sizing because right now it's just going all the way across. So I really want to make this, slightly smaller and also aligned to the left. So now you can see all our content is right here on the left and it's all reasonably laid out now. So the next stage now is to pretty much save this and then let's go and start working on our colors. So I'm going to come in here and change my color here to white. So this is a heading text. Changes to white. We may actually go in and play around with the colors again. So here I'm going to come to text, regular, in fact, I need to just make this white as well. So over here in our row settings, the next stage is to just add a background color so that it's easier to see our text here in the background. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, and the color we're going to add is pretty much black. And then what we'll do is we're going to go in and add some transparency to this, just slightly. I think that should be enough. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go in and give this some padding. So I'm going to come over here to spacing. So for our padding here, I'm going to start with 20 and see how that looks. So that's not too bad. I'm going to do the same over here, for the left and right. And then, as you can see, this now is not looking too good. We might want to go in and make this slightly bigger, but of course this is where you can play around with your settings. So I'm going to give this maybe about 30, and then top and bottom again I'm going to go, maybe actually let's do 36. Okay, because that's enough breathing space right there. Right, so this is looking much better, but you know what, I don't want this in two lines, so let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to save this. Now, one thing that you may also want to change here is, as you can see, everything is all bang on right there on the left edge. So we can actually go in and make some changes to this. So let's go into our section settings, design, and then we're going to come over here to spacing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some margins, in fact, some padding to the left, and then let's see how that looks. So I'm going to go and try maybe 40. Okay, so we've just moved this rectangle now from the left. We might even go for maybe 64. Okay, let's leave it at 64. Right, so we are going to come in later and make some more tweaks. Now, if you feel like, okay, this size of this landing page here or this section is not too good, you can always come in here and set a height. So let me come over here to design and let me show you how to do that. So on sizing, we can actually set up our minimum height. So let's say minimum height is maybe 620. Let's try 620. So now that's our minimum size. It's all set, and now that's looking great. Our information here is easy to read, and we have a beautiful background here which showcases our restaurant. Now let's go in and let's add some more sections to make our website look much better. So I'm going to click this plus button, and I'm going to add a regular section here, and we're going to have 3. What we're going to have here is some images and some call to actions. So I'm just going to make this like the menu. So I'm going to save this for now. And then I'm going to start adding all my images. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and add an image module. Okay, so I have all my images here in my media library. So let's start with this one here. So I'm going to add it. We're going to save that. Now we might need to do a bit of work here. So next I'm going to add a single column, because this is what's going to have our title to the section. So it's going to be a text module. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm just going to say our special menu. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to design, and then I'm just going to make sure my text is aligned. I'm also going to come back and make some customizations later. So I'm going to save this, and all I have to do now is just to drag this above this row. All right, so now that we have this, as a style, I think it'll be nice if we add something in the background, really faded, not really like in your face, but just to give this section a very good style. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here to my section settings, background, then I'm going to click this plus button here on my image. So let's add an image to go with this. So the image I'm going to go with is, let's go with this one here. It's just an image of food. But of course, as I mentioned, this is like really overpowering. So we really want to knock off, this image here and make it really light. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we're going to, first of all, come over here and change the blend mode to lighten. And then we're going to come over here and add white. So now you can see when you drag this slider down here, it shows us a little bit of the image here in the background. But again, we may want to come back and make some customizations later. So for now, let's save this. Okay, so let's add all our images here and make this look really, really nice. So I'm just going to duplicate this twice and then just drag this into position. Okay, so now we have all our images. So we're going to assume that this is menu 1, this is menu 2, this is menu 3. So let's go in now and start creating, the modules that are going to make up our section. So first of all, I'm going to add a button here. I'm going to select it. So I'm just going to say order, right? Now let's go into the design and really customize this. So I'm going to come over here to button. So let's start with adjusting our colors. So for our background color here, since this is a restaurant, we want to go with these dark reds because these colors are really appetizing. Okay, so now let's work on our font. So we have Poppins here. I may want to change this to Montserrat. Let me go ahead and select that. Great. Now the size of this is a bit too much. So I'm just going to reduce this a little bit to about maybe 14. It doesn't have to be too big. Right. So now that we have this in place, let's see if we have any padding to this. So I'm going to come over here to spacing and sure enough, we have some padding. So I'm just going to reduce this a little bit, maybe to about 7. I think 7 works fine. And then I'm going to save. Now I also need some text to go with this. So I'm also going to add another module and this is going to be our text module. So let's just call this menu 1 or main meal 1. Of course, you can be creative with this. Maybe perhaps you may want to give this an even better name for all these menus. All right, so I've added this. Now let's go in and let's just make sure that it's centered and then save. Then we're going to drag this to the top. So now that we have this information here, we may want to add a bit of a description of what this main meal 1 is about. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, I'm going to search for a text module. Now notice that whatever I'm adding here, it's going to be easy for me to just come in and just duplicate it and paste it over. So most of our work is going to be done here, but it's going to be easy for us to move it over. Okay, so next I'm also going to make this centered. I know I could have used a blurb for this, but I want to have full flexibility while I'm working on this. Okay, so again on the text here, I'm going to center it. The next stage is to go into one of these columns and I'm going to start working on it. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon and then now we have access to our columns. So this is the best way to work on your columns if you want to add some styling to this. So let's start by adding a background color. So again, I'm going to experiment with colors here that I think would work. So I'm really going to go with some really dark colors here. So I think that works okay. Now I need to add some padding because I want to give this some breathing space. Okay, so let's increase this to 28. Let's do the same to the left, 28. Yeah, so I think this looks okay. Now let's go in and save this. So now let's go in and customize our text. So I'm going to come over here to my title, design, and in my text here, I'm going to give this this white, and I want to make it all caps. And then over here, we're going to make it bold. And then finally, we just want to increase the size a little bit to maybe about 18 and then save. Next over here, we're also going to do the same. We're going to come over here and change my text color. Right, so over here, we're going to make this white, but you know what? The white is a bit too much here, so I'm just going to add some transparency to it. So as you can see, I'm just dragging this slider down until it's just enough for us to be able to read it. So I think that's looking great. I'm going to save that. And then finally, on my button here, I'm also going to change my background color. So I'm going to come to my button background and let me choose a color that works well with this. So let's look for a bright orange. Okay, I think that looks great. Right, so now I'm going to save. So this is our main meal, and that's the design of our main menu meal 1. So we need to replicate this and do the same to the rest of the 2 columns. All right, so let's go back into our row settings. So easily I can just copy my styles here and just paste them over here. So you can see now they've been pasted over. I'm going to go back again, paste them one more time. So now I don't have to go in and make all those crazy changes. So now I'm going to go ahead and save one more time. And then all I have to do now is to go in and just copy and paste this over. Okay, I'm going to drag this to the top and just rename this. So this is main menu meal 1. So this is going to be main meal 2. And the other one is going to be 3. All right, great. So I'm going to save this. We're going to do the same here with the description text. I'm going to duplicate this, drag this one more time. And then finally, we're going to do the button here. So as I mentioned, you can also do this with a blurb if you prefer. But this is, our final layout. So all I have to do now is to go in and change these images. So I'm going to click here and change my image. So this one here is going to be, let's go with this one right here. In fact, we may need to change this. Let's go with the burger. Okay, now let's work on our final one. So again, I'm going to click on this gear icon and select our image. So I'm going to go with this one here. Great. So these are our main meals. So all I have to do now is to come over here to the top and start working on my title. So I'm going to click here on design, text. So first, let's make it all caps, change the color. So we may want this a bit darker. You can see here how I'm making my decisions. This is also based on the fact that I'm also looking here to make sure that when people click on it or when people land on this page, it's easier to see. All right, so now that I have this, now let's work on the styling. So I think special menu, the way it is fine. I just need to increase my text size. So let's go ahead and do that. So maybe let's go with 24. And then we're going to add some letter spacing to this. Right, so I think that looks really nice. Now I'm going to come over here to spacing and we're going to give this some margin. So let's go with 28 and save. Now let's move on to our next section. So I'm going to click here on this plus button. Click on regular. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a section where we're going to talk about our chef. So let's go ahead and do that. So I need here 1/4 and 3/4. So on the first side here, I'm going to add an image. Now let's choose our image. So this is our chef right here. I'm going to click upload an image. I'm going to save that. And over here, we're going to have some text. So I'm going to choose my text module. So what we're going to do here is we're not going to add, you just need a caption, really. We don't really need a large description of, what's going on here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to replace this text here with my own. Now let's work on this. So I'm going to click here on design and then we're going to come over here to the text. So this time let's have it as bold. Okay. And as we can see, the text color here doesn't look great. So we might as well go ahead and change this right now. So I just need this dark, really dark color. So let's go with this. Okay. Now I'm going to increase the size, nice and big. But as we can see, our line height is a bit off. So I'm just going to reduce this a little bit. I think 1.4 is great. All right, so now that I have, in fact, I may even need to go back down a little bit to 1.2. Okay, so that's looking great. I'm going to save this. So now we have this beautiful image and we also have the text to go with it. Right, so what we could also do here is if we need to, we could make this image really come bang on right here on the bottom and remove the margins that we have here. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to remove the margins here. Right, so next we need to come over here to design and then spacing. So over here on spacing, the first thing we need to do is to, where it says show space below the image, we're going to say no to that. And on sizing, we're going to force full width. And this is where we can also set up our minimum and maximum height. Okay, so I'm just going to save this. And I'm also going to come over here to my row settings and remove my padding. So I'm going to click here on design, spacing. And we're going to get rid of our margins and make sure padding is gone as well. Okay, so again, on column 1, we're going to do the same. Just make sure that we don't have anything here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to 0 on the bottom. So now you can see our images just flash right there on the bottom, which is exactly what we need. All right, so I'm going to save this and save this one more time. Now, as we can see, this text here is way up there on the top. So I'm going to add some margin, bring this all the way down here so that it's right in the middle. Now we can go in and also do a few changes here. I can see there's some letter spacing that doesn't really look nice. I'm going to come back over here to my design text. So for my letter spacing here, I'm just going to add -1. Okay, so that looks much better. I prefer it that way. Okay, now I'm going to save. So this is our description text. This goes with our chef over here. We may also want to add a background color here, but you know what? For this design, I think this looks really nice for our chef. Now, we might as well add some testimonials for this. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, and we're going to go with a regular section. And this time we're going to add 4 testimonials. And I'm just going to search for my testimonial here. So now we might as well go in and start adding all our testimonials. But before we do that, let's see what this looks like with a very dark background section. So I'm going to click here on my section settings, click on background. So what I could also do here, I can come here on my recent colors. So these are the colors that I've been using. So I'm going to go with this really dark one and make it even darker. Okay, so we're going to go with that for our background. Right. So the next thing we need to do here is to add another row, because we need that row as, in fact, you know what? Since we've created another one, we can just come over here to the top. And for our special menu here, this row that we've just created, we're going to duplicate it, and then we're just going to drag it all the way down here to the bottom above our testimonials. Okay, so you can see here that it looks really nice. It blends in very well here. Okay, so what we're going to do here is let's start by adding our image here. So I'm going to come to my image, and I'm going to start adding my images. So I'm just going to use images that are already in my media library. So let's go ahead and upload this one. Now let's work on our text. So I'm going to click here on my design. So that circle looks fine, but if we need to get rid of this border, we could actually go in and get rid of it. Or if you want to play around with the colors, we can actually go in and adjust our colors here, maybe make it very subtle. And now for our text, let's go in and customize that, because the way our text looks here is not really great. So I'm going to click here on this brush tool, and then I'm going to play around with the fonts, with the colors that we've just used. So that's a bit too bright. And again, like I said, you just need to come in here and start playing with these colors and see which ones work better. Okay, so I just need to brighten this up a bit. So I think that looks fine. Okay, so, and the amount of text is a bit too much, so I'm going to come over here to my text and get rid of some of this text. So the name, so this could be a Susan. So these are our testimonials. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to make this even wider. So I'm going to click here on row settings, design, sizing. So what I'm going to do is to increase my width to about 80%. And I'm going to do the same over here as well. Now let's save this and see what it looks like. Okay, I think this looks nice. Okay, now that we've added this, we can always duplicate this and add it all across. So let's do that. So I'm just going to do Command C to copy. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a PC, it's Control C. And then I'm just going to paste it. So this saves me a lot of time, because next time I come in here, all I have to do is to change my image. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here to my image, and then I'm just going to choose a different image this time. Let's go with this guy, upload an image, and that fits perfectly. And we might as well change his name. So this now is Jack Jones. So we can save this. Let's change this one more time. Okay, so here, let's find a different image. All right, so let's go with this one here. Right, so here again, we can also change the name, and this could be Jane Scott. And finally, we just need to find another image here to just balance our design. So I'm going to click here on image, and let's go with this lady here. All right, so now that we have all our images, the final thing I need to do here is to just change this name as well. And I'm just thinking of a name here. I'm a bit stuck. Right, so we've got Jane. So this could be Samantha. Okay, so now that we have all our images, I'm going to save this. So pretty much this is looking great. So now we need to change this text to happy customers and then save. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know what? I may want to come in here and also adjust these colors here. So let me play around with these colors here, just change them a little bit. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon and I'm going to go with the middle column. Click on background. So I'm just going to make this a bit darker. Right. So we really want to highlight this one here because this one here is the one that we need people to choose when they come onto our page. Okay, so I want to go with that color there. And what I could also do here is to make it slightly bigger. So I'm going to come over here to design, transform, and I'm just going to increase the size a little bit here to about, let's say 110. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and save one more time. And now we can see that this one here really stands out. But the issue that we have is now our columns here are very close together. So we might as well fix that right away. So I'm going to come back over here to my row settings, design, sizing. So for our gutter width here, it's set to 2. I'm going to increase this to 3. Let me save this. And now we can see that this looks way much better. Okay, now we can even go in and maybe give this a border around, but to be honest, there's no need. I think this looks okay. And now the one thing that we may also want to do here is just increase our padding here on the bottom because this title here has come way too close to our item here. So that's looking good. As you can see, this section here has this image in the background. Over here, we have our chef. We have our main message here from the chef. We have our main customers here. We could also go in and add, other things. But to be honest, I think the landing page here looks great. Now, I want to also come back over here and just do a bit of work and perhaps maybe make this look much better. So the first thing I'm going to do is to come to my section settings, click on background, and I may want to darken this a little bit, just a tiny bit. Right, so to do that, I'm going to come over here to my background and add a background color. But anyway, in fact, before we do that, let me change this from my blending mode to multiply. And then I can now play around with my colors. So this is all about experimentation. So as you can see, when I add black, I can now drag my slider and reveal my image just a little bit like that. Now, let's say we need to add a specific color. This is where we can go in and just make it nice and warm. But you know what? This is a bit too much. I think the best thing is to just go with the black and then just add a bit of transparency like that. Right, so I'm pretty much happy with that. And then I'm going to save. Now, over here, I'm just making some little tweaks. I'm just going to add a bit of padding here. My button is way too close to my text. Right, so pretty much I'm happy with my landing page. So what we're going to do in the next exercise is to connect this to a funnel, because ideally we want to have a funnel and also have some email automation system which sends them a discount code so that when next time they come to order, they can just print off that discount code, or even just mention the discount code or show it on their mobile phone as they're making their orders. So that's what's going to be in the next stage, which is part 2. All right, so that's all I have for you in today's video. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.